The West Wales derby was played in wet and slippery conditions. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. In the first few minutes of this one, Scarlets, they win a penalty. Ospreys going down in the scrum. Johan Lloyd then nails the kick from distance to make it 3-0. And that's probably like the height of the Scarlets' performance in this game, honestly, because the scrum after that didn't go their way and neither really did the game. But Ospreys then almost score from the restart through Daniel Kassendi, but Owen Lloyd, he did well to get in there and kind of stop the move, but we end up with a scrum to Ospreys 10 metres out. Ospreys then win a penalty at the scrum, and basically they just drove through the Scarlets pack at the set piece. They then go to the corner from the penalty. Lake finds Beard with the line out. Scarlets initially seem to have contained them all, but then it fractures and Ospreys to get some momentum and they drive over. Kieran Williams, he joined in to add his weight to the pack as they go over to score, and he is the scorer. Walsh tags on the extras for 7-3. Ospreys hit the lead. Lloyd then shortly after that makes it a 1-point game from the tee, 7-6. Jack Morgan on the charge, he gets Ospreys deep into the 22. They win a penalty a few metres short of the line. They opt for a 5-metre scrum. The scrum goes down, but they're told to use it. Kieran Williams, he comes on a hard line and goes over. We then have a TMO check to see if he's grounded it, and TMO confirms that he did get over the line and ground the ball. Walsh converts for 14-6. Ospreys in control at this point. Via Fafita then just smashes Max Nagy just after he caught a high ball. Really well timed tackle, and it leads to a penalty for the Scarlets. Lloyd keeps Scarlets in touch. He strokes over a long range penalty, 14-9. All three of his penalties were almost from exactly the same spot, and they were all long distance and just slightly to the right of the post as he's looking, and he just nailed them all. It was really good kicking from him. From there then, Davis wins a penalty at the breakdown, and that ends a period of Scarlets possession. Probably one of the longest periods of Scarlets possession. Didn't really do but that much with it. Ospreys then go up the line to the edge of the 22 from the penalty. Lake to Beard. Wyn Jones then knocks on as he was trying to intercept, and then Leatherbarrow is pinged for offside at the ruck. Maybe a little bit harsh on him there. Walsh pops the penalty over to make it 17-9, and that was a halftime score. Ospreys have a period of pressure early in the second half. Wyn Jones is offside and they decide to go to the corner. They go to the tail of the line out. Scarlets collapse illegally, and Ospreys then break off that. Nicky Smith gets held up over the line, and we come back for a penalty for offside. It was basically two penalties that they could have picked from. Ospreys, you feel like they could kill the contest here. Then we have O'Connor engages early in the line out, and it's another penalty for Ospreys. Scarlets get a warning at this point. Lake then splits off the back of the maul, and basically like Scarlets were driving the Ospreys maul into touch, so Dowie Lake decides to split off, and then they pick and go right up to the line. Eventually Morgan Morris forces his way over. Walsh converts 24-9, and it's really hard to see Scarlets coming back from here. Scarlets errors are making even less likely. We got a crooked throw into a line out, followed by a knock on, and just completely stripped them of any momentum. Joe Roberts then kicks a fantastic 50-22 to give them a great field position in that Ospreys 22. Scarlets to get the line out right this time, and the maul though just gets absolutely blown backwards by the Ospreys, so they got to move her from a retreating maul. They do though win a penalty as they spread it for Sam Parry being off his feet. Scarlets opt for a scrum from the penalty. They then win 2 successive scrum pens. I think it was probably for Ospreys driving early as far as I could see, because the scrum didn't go down for either of them. From the 3rd scrum then, Kieran Hardy just sends like a long bouncing pass straight into touch, and it pretty much summed up the Scarlets, not just in tonight's game but also for much of this season as well. A little bit disjointed from them and not really able to take chances, the few chances that they were creating. Ospreys then begin to turn the screw, pressuring that Scarlets line, but Morgan is held up over the line. Great defense from Scarlets there. They managed to turn him as he was going over onto his back, and then they got guys in there to make sure he couldn't get the ball down. Steph Thomas then gets himself a yellow card for collapsing a maul, but it was really for accumulation of penalties in the red zone in quick succession. I think it was 5 penalties the referee said altogether in 2 batches. Ospreys then get the bonus point try when they have the extra man. We have basically a duff attempted chip from Nagy. Actually works out from like, it's absolutely not what he expected to happen. So he goes for the chip but doesn't actually get much on the ball, but it ends up kind of falling back to him anyway. And then he gets kind of a little bit of a half break in behind, finds Dan Edwards then, who steps to cover. He goes from halfway, steps to cover, and goes over to score in his debut. He then converts his own try for 31-9. Ospreys then finish the game getting held up over the Scarlets line again as we're looking for a final score. Full time was 31-9. Decent win for the Ospreys. Scarlets still looking for answers, and you know the season is in jeopardy even this early, I think, you know, in terms of being able to make a push for playoffs, because you can only have poor form for so long in the URC before it's going to be almost impossible for you to come with a late run. But you know, they need to find some wins soon, and you know, we've seen though from last year, teams that have had poor starts can actually turn it around. Whether they can do it or not remains to be seen. Let's have a look at some of the stats from the game now. So we will start with the attack. So tries, 4 tries to 0 for the Ospreys, so they obviously got the bonus point from that. But Scarlets, honestly, no real chances that you thought that they, you know, should have had a try from. It was all kind of half chances that they messed up really. Ospreys, you know, defense was decent, but they didn't have to be amazing, honestly, to handle that Scarlets attack, because, as I said, it was a bit disjointed. Possession, 58% for Ospreys, 42% for Scarlets. And Ospreys, they held onto the ball for, you know, long periods as well, and just kind of ground Scarlets down as well. Clean breaks then 4-1 for the Ospreys. You know, I guess the main break, at least to my memory, is that one where Nagy puts the chip over and then Edwards goes through to score that final bonus point try. Defenders beaten then 27-6, just shows how much better that Ospreys attack is running compared to the Scarlets. Scarlets found it very hard to find any kind of space, and often when, you know, they're trying to go wide, they'd run out of men, and rather than kind of creating overlaps, they would be basically outnumbered out wide. So, you know, again, a lot of work for them to do. Offloads, just 5 for the Ospreys, 12 for Scarlets. And again, I come back to something that I talked about a lot, is that, you know, a lot of the time teams are just offloading for the sake of it, or to move the ball away from, you know, the point of contact, and trying to avoid a turnover. And a lot of the Scarlets ones were like that. They were basically offloads under pressure that then Ospreys would potentially turn over or just kill the move dead. Just after that, defense then, territory, 59% for Ospreys and 41% for Scarlets. Now again, Scarlets, they had a few periods of possession, but their visits to the Ospreys 22 were few and far between. Ospreys spent a lot of the time, as you can see, in that Scarlets half, and then just being able to methodically work their way up into the 22. And then when they got there, then line out was going well, maul was going well, and when they got chances to spread it too, they looked more dangerous to the two sides. Number of tackles, 104 for Ospreys, 129 for Scarlets. Missed tackles, just 8 from Ospreys, which is a great return, 27 from the Scarlets, and that converts to tackle success of 93% for Ospreys, which is really good. Anything 90 and above is a really good defensive performance. 83 for Scarlets, which is below par that you would expect in the URC. I think like 85 is like a minimum that a team should be hitting. So to be down at 83 just shows that it was a poor defensive performance from them. Turnovers 1 then, 8 for Ospreys, 6 for Scarlets. And, it was the Ospreys turnovers that were more important, really, because Scarlets, they got some turnovers that obviously denied the Ospreys extra scores, as it were, but wasn't really pivotal in deciding the game. Kicking then, kicks retained, one area where Scarlets actually did better. 1 for the Ospreys, 4 for Scarlets. Their kicking was decent, and the chase as well, but problem was they did nothing then to build on after that. They couldn't actually make use of that, but maybe it's something for them at least going forward to look at and say, okay, well, that's one area where things seem to be going right for us. Let's see if we can develop something around that. But their running game is going to have to be better. Their carrying from the forwards as well going to have to be better. Set piece, they did win a couple of scrum penalties, but mostly Ospreys on top in the scrum. And Scarlets line out misfired a few times as well, especially in crucial positions. So there's a lot for them to work on. Kicking success, ignore it. It's a nothing stat. Penalties then, 10 for Ospreys, which is kind of on the high side for a winning team, but we're seeing a lot more penalties, I think, in the URC this year than maybe we would have seen in games last year. At least that's my feeling. I'll have to look at the stats on that though. And then 16 for the Scarlets, conceding 16 penalties and not being able to, threaten the try line either. That's just, a recipe for disaster for them, and that's basically what this was. They were easily second best in this one. In terms of then players, we had Morgan Morris with 7 carries top for the Ospreys, and then Steph Evans 4 for the Scarlets. And clean breaks, Max Nagy with 2, Johnny McNichol with 1 for the Scarlets, but again, it wasn't very memorable, honestly. Defenders beaten then, Jack Morgan, Wales captain, 7 for him. He put in a great shift, I felt. Meters made, Max Nagy with 88 there, coming up into the line a lot and returning kicks as well. Johan Lloyd had an okay game for Scarlets. 29 meters for him though just shows the difference between these two sides in terms of their attacks and their carries as well. Offloads then, 2 for Morgan Morris, 5 from Johnny McNichol, but again, I couldn't point to one that had a massively positive impact on Scarlet's play. Maybe there was one in there and I just missed it, but it didn't feel like there was anything really there. In terms of tackling then, James Fender, 15 tackles for Ospreys, and then Leather Barrow, 23 for Scarlets, a decent shift from him, but nothing really great on the Scarlet side of things, unfortunately. Turnovers 1, 2 for Davies, 2 for Tupolatu. Tupolatu was, again, okay. It's hard to kind of credit any of the Scarlet players for being outstanding, but at least he kind of looked a bit above a lot of those around them out there today. So from here then, Ospreys, it's a decent win for them. Now they've got to convert that into, if they can, like a run of victories. That's really what we want to see from these Welsh regions. It's not just isolated wins against kind of, the odd win and then winning a Welsh derby. You want to see consistency from them and themselves, and potentially Cardiff maybe can offer that above the the Scarlets and the Dragons. The Scarlets really have had a torrid start to the season, and again, as I said before, they've got to sort it out soon, or they're going to be just in that little pack down there with the likes of the Dragons, just kind of trying to avoid, finishing in the bottom few in the league. And that's not really where you want your season to be heading, especially when it's only just started. So let's see how they go. Well, both of these teams go from here.